In terms of what drives us to choose outside counsel, I think it's important for lawyers to recognize, why would we choose outside counsel? Generally, it comes down to we don't have the workload bandwidth internally to handle a matter. We may not have the time. We may lack the expertise. So, for example, tricky tax issues or securities issues, we're going to go to outside counsel to make sure that we do everything, we're up to date, and we're doing everything absolutely the way we should be doing it. I think when it comes down to how external counsel can benefit us, one thing I've always tried to do in private practice, and I appreciate now that I'm in-house, is I don't want our outside counsel to just give us options and let us make the call. I think they have to add value. They have to say, these are your three options. This is the one that I recommend. So put your neck out, make a recommendation, explain to the client why that's the right option. Ultimately, the client's going to make the call. But before, Helen, I'd say before you get to the point where you have a file and you're ready to make a recommendation, my chapter was about how do you build the relationship. So I want to back up a little bit before that first file arrives. The advice I would give to people who want to work for really any client, recognize that it takes time to make connections. You have to build a relationship. You have to earn trust. You use the phrase strategic advisor. I tend to use the phrase trusted advisor. And trust goes a few ways. I'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute. But what I would say initially is, if you invite an in-house counsel, a general counsel, or senior executive in the legal department out for a lunch, the lunch is the win. In-house counsel tend to get invited to a lot of events, a lot of lunches, lots of baseball games, hockey games, dinners, all of those types of things. So if you actually do get the lunch, that's the win. The file hopefully will come later. And what you're really trying to do is you're trying to be genuine, don't be transactional, because what I'm trying to assess is, I assume that the legal skills are there. So that's a given, that's table stakes. You can do the job. I'm really looking at, do I want to work with this person? Will I get along with this person? Do I feel this person will work well with the members of my team? And so I would say, just recall, it takes multiple meetings. I think I've read somewhere that it takes up to 9 different engagements with someone, whether it be bumping into them at an event or having coffee or going for lunch, before the relationship really starts to be formed. So take your time. You're on a bit of a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. Once you've built the relationship, Helen, and you're now ready to actually do some work, and you've got the first file, excuse me, and apologies, I'm just getting over a cold. So I think one of the most important things a new lawyer for a business can do is actually make a bit of investment and learn what's important for that business. What are the key priorities? Where does it stand now? What are its long-term goals? And I think you've got to decide, are you looking for a long-term relationship with the client, or are you really just looking for a series of transactional, you get hired every now and then? I would argue that you really want the long-term relationship. So at the start of a relationship, bill accordingly. You might need to spend a little bit of time to learn about the business. That's something that you should really invest in yourself. Recognizing that the more you learn about the business, the more value you can add, and that you can, ultimately your goal is to become a trusted advisor. Your goal is to make in-house counsel look good. And you really want to start to become part of a business team. You want to be seen as an extension of the in-house team. And the way you do that, in part, is if you have a deliverable deadline, you should meet your deadline. Don't leave things to the last minute, because generally, I work with a large number of departments in my company. I share what I get from outside counsel internally and ask for feedback so that we can make a business decision with all internal stakeholders involved. So you have to really make sure you don't let the in-house counsel down. If there's a deadline, you have to meet it. What does
Yeah,
it mean? Yeah,
I was going to say you're putting a lot of trust in somebody, aren't you, when you're asking them to work for you in that way.
you really are, Helen. And it's not just the dollar value or the pound value of the fees that are incurred. You're really guiding the company into certain strategic areas. So there is a lot of trust, and that's why getting to know outside counsel is important. Um, One of the things I would say is one way you become a trusted advisor, Helen, is you do what's best for the client, not what's best for the firm. So if your firm isn't actually the right place for this, if there's someone that you think might be better, you should say, we can do it, but we think you should go across the street and speak with someone else. That builds up a tremendous amount of trust with the client that you're now looking out for me. You're not just looking at your bottom line. And I think one of the last things I would say is everyone's going to be nice to the general counsel. It's important for me that every member of the team at my company be treated with respect. Um, Ultimately, they will tell me the lawyers that they like and the lawyers that they don't like. They tell me who's timely, who's efficient, and who's not. And recognize that the junior lawyer today is going to be the vice president of tomorrow, or the general counsel of next year. So if you start building those relationships now, you really begin to really tighten your relationship with that company as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really all I have to say for now, unless there's any comments or questions.